It's a mystery that's been shrouded in bullshit since the first footprint was cast. Lies in the night from a source unknown. Shaky images captured on film. Footprints and fingerprints unknown to pseudoscientists.
This is unlike anything I've ever examined before.
All this flimsy circumstantial evidence points to a legend known as Sasquatch. Or does it?
We'll generate an animated sequence that will identify the creature in the footage somewhere on the Tree of Life.
Can these clues lead a bunch of pseudoscientists and random plebs to the definitive discovery of a new species?
Now that's biomechanics, baby!
In this documentary, we'll be taking pseudoscience to a new low by investigating what's already been done, and then doing it all again slightly differently in an attempt to coax out new theories from a bunch of random experts.
It's got at least 1 foot.
Who, like many before, have stared glassy-eyed at the most misanalyzed piece of evidence in history.
Nearly nodded off there.
The Patterson-Gimlin film, which many people believe is the filming of a real Sasquatch. We'll predominantly be focusing on reviewing the analysis within the Sasquatch Legend Meets Science documentary to see if this presentation is worthy of the high esteem in which it's held for all things related to Patty's physical attributes. We will use some slightly out-of-date technology to determine some undeterminable characteristics of the filmed subject and prove once and for all that the Patterson creature is maybe, just maybe, within the human range. And so, for the fuck-teenth time, real pseudoscientists, amateurs, and forensic wannabes will put the Sasquatch mystery under the microscope in Sasquatch Legend Meets Nonsense. Back in 2003, a documentary was released that shook the world of science and Bigfootery to its very core. Using revolutionary technology and techniques, it was proposed that we would be presented with a state-of-the-art, animated CGI recreation of the Patterson creature, which would enable scientists to view and analyze the creature's proportions and movements from almost any angle. That documentary was known as Sasquatch Legend Meets Science. For the documentary and book of the same name, 3D animator Ruben Steindorf was tasked with creating the animation by tracking and locking the skeletal model to the movie image by creating linkages between the two, ensuring the movements matched across 116 individual frames. Such attention to detail should leave no room for error, especially if the model is to subsequently be used for scientific analysis on which to base theories. The head, torso, arms, hands, legs, and feet should all move in unison, revealing no separation between model and movie as the animation traces Patty's movements across the screen. Any separation of the overlaid model and movie would reveal a potential error in the analysis. The documentary certainly delivered on its promise of presenting a 3D Bigfoot skeleton, viewable from any angle for experts to analyze. Its accuracy, seemingly so wondrous it led professional Bigfoot conference speaker, cryptozoological pseudoscientist and doctor Jeff Meldrum to suggest the model is so faithful it may in fact contribute to a greater understanding of the evolution of bipedalism.
This is in fact a real animal. This unusual combination of characteristics is going to give some important insights into the evolutionary history of bipedalism.
And finally, give us a look at how Patty interacted with the physical world.
If the joints actually move based on my inverse kinematics, then they actually make sense in the physical world. Makes sense in the physical world.
Makes sense in the physical world. Makes sense in the physical world. Makes sense in the physical world. Makes sense in the physical world. Makes sense in the physical world. Makes sense in the physical world.
Does that thing need a dump? Oh, goodness me.
In no fucking physical world do any of those movements make any fucking sense.
Was the information presented in 2003 and still referenced today wrong? Have we been misled for the past 23 years? Was the model truly a frame-by-frame reconstruction of the footage, or just an elaborate preconceived production designed to mislead the viewer into believing monsters exist? Let's find out. To do this, we'll be creating our own Bigfoot model and tracking it over 100 frames, just as the experts did back in 2003. Then, we'll compare the two. The Patterson footage has fascinated and beguiled all who have laid eyes on it for decades. Now, some people with too much time on their hands are up to the challenge of digging deeper for answers about the alleged Sasquatch in the movie. Freely available 3D modeling and animation software can now provide even the most simple-minded Bigfooter ways of viewing and studying subjects captured with moving images.
A couple of days ago, I got a message from Professor Chuckle at the Center for Pseudoscience in Quackery. He said he'd observed something a little funky during his nightly bedtime watch of the Legend Meets Science documentary. He said he noticed that the skeletal model of Patty looked a little off, so he reached out to me to help get to the bottom of this animated abomination.
I'm too sexy for your party, too sexy for your party. No way, I'm just go dancing.
Hello? Okay. Fascinating. What I'm wearing is irrelevant. I jumped straight on it. Bye-bye.
Strudel Reinhorn of Cowboy Animations, Inc., an expert animator and animations expert in animating expertly, is intrigued by this mystery. He is helping pseudoscientists reevaluate the Patterson footage to see if the stride and gait of the creature could even be accomplished by a man in a monkey suit. The next step is for Reinhorn to waste countless days positioning the joints of the model over 100 individual frames of the Patterson footage, a time-consuming process that, if done correctly, may offer new clues as to just how ridiculous the animation presented in Sasquatch Legend Meets Science actually was. Clues anxiously awaited by our biomechanics experts. Here we see Reinhorn, bathed in intense science-y blue lighting, diligently working on the Patty animation, painstakingly positioning the model over 100 individual frames of the footage.
Not using inverse kinematics, as I don't know what that is. I'm just dragging limbs around until they make sense in the physical world.
Physical world.
Yep, that sounds pretty fucking boring. Probably a good time for a montage. Even Rocky had a montage. In addition to studying the proportions and gait, the experts within the Sasquatch, Legend Meets Science documentary, proposed the creature was carrying a visible injury, further reinforcing the likelihood that this couldn't be a costume, as a fake monkey suit couldn't be constructed with such detail back in 1967. Dr. Meldrum and Dr. Nelson, two highly educated and intelligent men, theorize what may have caused the visible anomaly on the creature's leg.
It could be some sort of
traumatic pathology, a rupture of the IT or iliotibial band, allowing the underlying muscle to selectively bulge through in that area. Now, first of all, I would say that would be characteristic of at least a partial rupture of a part of the quadriceps. There's also the IT band or the iliotibial band that runs through the area also. A creature that would have that type of a rupture would certainly have compromised gait of some sort.
Oh, goodness me.
Sounds fancy, or it could just simply be a speck of dirt or dust on the film. These artifacts appear constantly throughout the film, and many can be seen elsewhere on that particular frame. In addition, the best stabilization of the footage doesn't show the artifact at all, indicating that different copies of the film reveal slightly different artifacts and blemishes. In short, the thigh injury is a speck of dust on that particular copy of film that was used during the development of the documentary. Did Meldrum and Nelson get a little overexcited and make a genuine mistake with their injury theory? Or are these two intelligent and highly educated doctors just deliberately spreading bullshit for the sake of entertainment? A byproduct of creating the detailed 3D model is that it allows us to simulate Patty's path through the environment. In conjunction with a scaled digital recreation of Bluff Creek created using the accurate survey data gathered by the Bluff Creek project, we can plot Patty's path amongst the known tree locations. By mimicking her route in the footage, we can see how far she walked during each section of film. There are 6 segments of footage which make up the walking sections of the Patterson film. Here we can see those sections, along with a corresponding frame counter. Each time the film flicks to a negative appearance, or back again, is when the filming was interrupted. Choosing a section of the film where Patty walks predominantly across the screen and amongst the trees, we can confidently measure how far she's moved during a certain number of frames. Although we don't know the camera speed, we can assume it was one of the 3 most likely speeds of 24, 18, or 16 frames per second. And if we adopt some Bigfoot documentary-style science and wizardry, we can calculate her walking speed during that segment. Deep in the epicenter of the Center for Pseudoscience and Quackery, Dr. Chuckle is overseeing an investigation into how fast the creature in the Patterson footage was traveling to determine if the creature is in fact moving at a rate of speed too fast for a human.
Looking at the animation, it seems possible this creature could be systematic, hydromatic, ultramatic. Ooh! Why she could move like greased lightning.
You can see she's got some overhead lifters and highly formed barrel quads. Oh yeah, keep talking, woo, keep talking.
Using the Bluff Creek project site info and Patty model, we can approximate how fast this thing was walking.
Using the scaled model and survey maps, we can zoom into the area where frames 309 to 418 took place and measure the distance the creature covered during that period. We can see she takes 10 steps and covers an approximate distance of 8 meters, averaging 31.5 inches per step. The creature covered 8 meters over a segment of 109 frames. With that in mind, if the camera was set to 24 frames per second, she covered 8 meters in 4.5 seconds and was walking at a speed of 3.9 miles per hour. At 18 frames per second, Patty would have taken 6.06 seconds to cover the distance, which translates to a walking speed of just under 3 miles per hour. And if the camera was set at 16 frames per second, she was walking at a speed of 2.63 miles per hour. Either way, she wasn't walking at a particularly mind-blowing speed. Certainly not greased lightning.
Well, she's not walking too fast there. That's a shame.
Reinhorn's 3D modeling of the figure in the Patterson footage is now complete. The animation will be sent to leading pseudoscientist Dr. Chuck Chuckle for analysis and review at the Center for Pseudoscience and Quackery. Will it reveal new details of the gait? Will it uncover hidden clues to the evolution of bipedalism? Of course not, but we'll do it anyway. For additional opinions on these anatomical perspectives, Dr. Chuckle consults with Brian the mechanic, the closest thing to a biomechanics expert we could afford, who's been given the task of evaluating the anatomical evidence now visible in the animation.
This new animation is showing some pretty uninteresting gait movements. We'll need some additional expert advice to take this analysis deeper.
Hey, Brian. I've got some interesting shit I need your expert opinion on.
I'm Brian. Brian the mechanic. What are you looking at?
Yeah, she's walking real good. If I walked, I walk just like that. But I don't walk, I drive. I drive real hard. Now get the hell off my property.
Does that thing need a dump? Now that's biomechanics, baby! Yeehaw!
Thanks, Brian. Let's take a closer look at the way this thing walks. By removing the debris and looping the animation, we can see the gait isn't that extraordinary at all. In fact, other than appearing to maintain a flexed hip and knee, all the movements appear to simply be a byproduct of adapting a walk to accommodate big feet. We see the foot lift higher during the pre-swing phase, occasionally in combination with the foot splaying to the side. Both movements necessary to clear the large feet over unpredictable, unfamiliar ground. Nothing else appears unusual when compared to standard human bipedal movement. Certainly, there are no inefficient, evolutionarily illogical, knock-kneed, wallying in and out motions, as suggested by the Legend Meet science analysis. That simply doesn't happen. If we take a look at the stabilized footage from behind Patty, we can also see there is no evidence of this odd walking motion. In fact, watching the stabilized end section of footage reveals an entirely different story. The creature, during this section, suddenly appears to have adopted an even more human-like way of walking. So, the 2003 animation, unfortunately, didn't contribute to a greater understanding of the evolution of bipedalism. In fact, the suggestions of a wobbly walking Patty has moved the understanding of the subject backwards. Shame.
Now that's biomechanics, baby!
While we're looking at the rear view of Patty, it's a good time to ask the question as to why apparent Bigfoot analysis experts and scientific documentaries choose to display the original footage in a squeezed aspect ratio instead of the original format. Is this a deliberate choice to fool the viewer into believing Patty was wider and bulkier than she truly was? Is it deliberate misinformation to trick believers into thinking there's just no way she's human-sized? Or is it just really poor production and video editing capabilities? I think we know the answer to that. Now, with our new accurate model, synced and proportioned correctly with the creature in the footage, we can overlay the Sasquatch, Legend Meets Science skeletal model, to establish if the claims about Patty's proportions and gait movements in the book and documentary are accurate. If the Legend Meets Science model is inaccurate, then so is the analysis of Patty that followed. Starting with Ruben Steindorf's work, if we look closely, we can see the skeleton struggles to stay within the confines of Patty's outline, often wobbling in and out of the silhouette, which is curious considering it's supposedly been locked and tracked to the footage over 116 frames, employing inverse kinematics to aid the process. Something seems off here. There is nothing about this which has been locked and tracked. It seems to be a bad attempt at lining up an ill-fitting skeleton over a few frames and hoping the interpolation takes care of the rest. It didn't. Not by a long shot. It's plain for anyone to see that this animation is wildly inaccurate, and that has nothing to do with the date this was produced. This wasn't the 1970s. The software to do this properly was available. Not only does the skeleton fall out of sync in position with the footage, but it also displays movements which have previously been ruled out by complementary analysis by Jeff Meldrum. Here we can see the knee locking straight on several occasions. Something we are constantly told the Patterson creature's legs don't do. It supposedly walks with a maintained bent knee. Steindorf didn't get that memo. We could go on, but now let's take a look at the proposed intermembral index, or proportions of the creature. The intermembral index is a calculation which puts a number on the relationship between the arm and leg length. Any number under 100 implies that the legs are longer than the arms. Any number over 100 indicates the arms are longer than the legs. This illustration helps to visualize the intermembral index. If we set the leg length at 100, then the arm length gives the index number for that particular species. Humans have an intermembral index of between 68 and 70. Gorillas 116, and baboons around 92. Steindorf calculates the index of Patty at just under 90, which is in line with Jeff Meldrum's own guesstimate. This puts a nice science-y spin on trying to convince people that Patty has proportionally much longer arms when compared to a human. However, now we have our new animation. We can accurately track Patty's feet throughout the gait cycle during those 100 or so frames, even behind the debris pile. So, we'll be able to get the best proportional visualization of Patty there has ever been. If we overlay our new model with a stabilized and correct aspect ratio version of the Sasquatch, legend meets science animation. We can see how inaccurate Steindorf's skeleton actually is, with a placement of its head, torso, arms, pelvis, and feet all failing to maintain an accurate and locked position. The most glaring issues being with the pelvis and feet locations. The animation looks to have taken a few liberties by deliberately shortening the legs to a drastic degree. The intermembral index of the skeleton does actually calculate at just under 90, so their calculations are correct. It's just unfortunate that they were using an inaccurate model of Patty to analyze. If we calculate the intermembral index of the new, more accurate model, we can see the creature is actually within the human range. Claims of disproportionately long arms are false. Here are some visuals to help with this mind-blowing announcement. Watching the non-hairy human form of Patty also seems to make that walk look even less odd. By placing a human form within the Patty model, we can see the difference in bulk between the two. If this is a human in a suit, the padding required to shape a human into Patty isn't a huge amount, with most of the additional bulk being required on the shoulders. Over the years, there has been much talk of football shoulder pads being used to achieve this. While we're here, let's take a look at how shoulder pads fill up Patty's silhouette. In summary, the claims of Patty's intermembral index being around the 90 mark is misinformation. That calculation was based on incorrect analysis.
The combination of underwhelmingly human-like characteristics isn't going to give any important insights into the evolutionary history of bipedalism.
Boobs. Oh, I like boobs. I can't wait for this segment.
In order to recreate Patty's proportions as closely as possible for a truly faithful recreation, our expert forensic animator had to undertake a prolonged and intense study of the creature's unusually solid knockers. No easy task. However, the results were truly astounding and allowed our female Bigfoot expert the chance to form some mind-blowing theories regarding the subject.
In my expert opinion, it's either a female Bigfoot, a male Bigfoot with moobs, or a fake monkey suit with boobs sewn on for additional detail.
It's often said that the 1960s were so macho, so testosterone-fueled, that no known man would dare wear fake lady boobs through fear of ridicule and being labeled as a big girl's blouse. Such reputation-busting mockery would surely see a man shunned and banished from town, never to return. However, recent research into the annals of time have revealed some long-lost photos, suggesting that maybe such non-macho behavior was witnessed more often than Bigfoot itself. In conclusion, even a red-blooded macho cowboy would have worn some fake fun bags for the right amount of money. Or even for no money. So, when laying out the arguments for Patty either being real or a hoax, the breasts are irrelevant. It's coming up to 60 years since the Patterson creature was filmed. In all those intervening years, nobody has come close to capturing or even filming what could be a real-life Sasquatch. In a last-ditch attempt to finally gather some indisputable evidence, our experts will blow this documentary's $2 Kickstarter fund by attempting to capture one of these elusive creatures.
Mr. Buns, I've got an idea that requires a particular set of skills to pull off. I think you're the man for the job.
You've got this superstar. This is the moment you've been waiting for.
Makeup artist and special effects expert Harvey Buns has been tasked with creating a state-of-the-art Bigfoot lure in an attempt to coax a horny Sasquatch into our trap. Using advanced technology and things from the lost and found cupboard, Mr. Buns has created the ultimate Bigfoot hunter's tool, to help solve this enduring mystery once and for all. By deploying this lure deep in Squatch territory, it's hoped we will finally see and capture our very own Patty.
Let's catch one of these damn dirty squatches. Whew. Deploy the bait.
What? What the fuck is that? Okay, forget it. Abort mission. Dickheads.
Contemporary Bigfoot media suffers from a fundamental credibility crisis. Much of the content produced today prioritizes sensationalism over substance, wrapping questionable claims in pseudoscientific language to support predetermined conclusions.
I can't believe it! The data is conclusive! We found Bigfoot!
This approach undermines genuine research and perpetuates misinformation within the cryptozoology community. The proliferation of monetized Bigfoot content has created perverse incentives that prioritize profit over truth. Productions consistently feature exaggerated claims and fabricated evidence designed to maintain audience engagement and generate revenue.
This proves beyond a shadow of a doubt it's got at least 1 foot.
This commercial motivation affects content creators regardless of their professional credentials or academic backgrounds, as financial interests can compromise even the most qualified researchers. Cryptozoology finds itself trapped in a self-perpetuating cycle of misinformation and hyperbole. From questionable scientific analyses to dramatized expedition footage, much of the content appears designed for viral engagement rather than advancing legitimate research. This approach not only damages the field's credibility, but also disrespects those genuinely interested in the scientific possibilities. Content creators who employ these tactics demonstrate a fundamental disconnect from their stated mission. If they truly cared about advancing cryptozoological research, they would prioritize accuracy over entertainment value. Audiences must approach Bigfoot media with healthy skepticism, regardless of the presenter's credentials or popularity. Critical evaluation requires asking fundamental questions. What evidence is being presented? What are the creator's motivations? How does this content advance our understanding?
List the reasons why the Patterson creature is real.
1. Suit technology. 2. No man would wear fake boobs. 3. Suit technology. 4. Roger was a broke idiot cowboy.
The opinions of these AI characters featured in this mockumentary hold as much validity as the conclusions put forward by the so-called celebrated Bigfoot experts, motivated by money and fame. Do not trust all your esteemed Bigfoot experts and social media content creators. Ask questions, use your eyes, and remember to ask what their motivation is before you drink their Kool-Aid. The opinions of both anonymous commentators and celebrated experts should be evaluated based on evidence quality rather than reputation or charisma. Social media influence and academic credentials mean little without rigorous methodology and transparent research practices.
I've also noticed right away that there's an interesting rotation of the leg and foot that's not typical of a modern human gait.
A man could not duplicate this peculiar gait. The human body isn't built that way.
Huh?
Can't even imagine what they think of us.
Future cryptozoology projects, such as Sasquatch, Legend Meets Science 2, represent opportunities to elevate the discourse. Success will depend on whether these productions prioritize scientific rigor over entertainment value, using their resources to advance genuine research rather than perpetuate existing myths. The cryptozoology community stands at a crossroads. Progress requires abandoning sensationalist approaches in favor of methodical, evidence-based investigation. Only through this commitment to truth can the field hope to achieve legitimate scientific recognition and meaningful discoveries. Heavy stuff. Thanks for watching. We'll pass back to Dr. Chuckle for the last word on the creature in the Patterson footage.
In all probability, this is just a guy in a suit. But I like money and conference poontang, so yeah, it's a Bigfoot.
Decorate this town with kerosene and matches, tossed like a cigarette. Stub love will only bring you down. Cold suburban life. We left in cold suburban life. Don't stop.